Hello folks. Well, the Esky Honeybee was one of the first electric helicopters that used my electric tail rotor motor invention. I coined it the ETRM. I used the first ever production helicopter, the Skylark EH-1 by Ishimasa, to experiment with the electric tail rotor motor. It was a fluke that it caught on as well as it did after I sent videotapes of it flying to Japan and Europe, where they published it in Radio Helicopter Europe, etc. I actually loved it so much I began selling them through Condor Hobbies in Costa Mesa, California in 1978, and within a couple of years I perfected the ETRM. In fact, the Icarus Piccolo was the first in Europe, and this model of it right here was sent to me by Alexander Van Rostein, who thanked me for coming up with this. And of course, Kyosho compensated me for my idea, and they also went on to develop my Hyperfly tail rotorless heli. Well, the Esky Honeybees were very popular, easy to learn to fly, and inexpensive. I'm sure many of you had them, and you've seen my million videos on them, I'm sure. Well, I'm going to show you a few honeybees today, as I was inspired by the fellow that sent me one recently, Rory, that I turned into a tail rotorless helicopter and made a video of that recently. But first, here's a quick clip of the very first electric tail rotor motor heli that I developed when I first flew it. Well, because the tail rotor on the EH-1 was controlled by a slipping belt and pulleys, I decided to start developing the electric tail rotor system just to see if I could. Since this was the first production electric RC helicopter in the world, there were special speed controllers that were needed to be developed because there were none available that could handle the amp of the two 550 can motors the EH-1 came with. It actually came with a rheostat and wiper for speed control, and that ran pretty cool. But in our electronic one, overheating the transistors were a big problem. But we worked it out. Vic Mosek of Victor Engineering helped me develop. He was making chargers, intelligent chargers, and speed controllers. This, of course, was very early for ESCs. This is a degraded video of it flying with my electric tail rotor motor. Let's go ahead and see what the Esky Honeybees fly like now. This is the Esky Honeybee, the very first version of it. Does not have collective pitch, and this is also one of the quietest helicopters that you would ever want to fly. Like I said, no collective pitch. So the only way that makes it go up and down is by increasing the speed of the motor. So let's go ahead and give it a shot, and I'll show you how this works on 72 megahertz. A lot easier to see with my floats on there too, as you can see. So that's the first version. Well, the CP Honeybees came next. The CP stands for collective pitch. I managed to score this one on eBay for $149, which was brand new in the box and never used. It came with no battery. It's supposed to use nickel metal hydride 8.4 volt batteries, so let's see how it does. I spent an hour adjusting the pots on this thing, the gain
and the proportion to, then all of a sudden this motor locked up, and it turns out this little tail rotor motor is bad. And that's why on the original prototype I use a much bigger motor than this. So what I've done is I put the two motor setup back on this that was on the other one. Now I think I'm going to have some efficiency. Yeah, now I've got control here. That's nice. That's the way it should be.
Well, Honeybee King came next. I'd managed to pick this one up for $35 brand new, but it's just a bare bones kit. So in addition, I need 3 servos, receiver, battery, gyro, BEC, and ESC to make it work. The ESC I used is an Electrify C35. These are difficult to find anymore as Great Plains no longer has them available. The King has a driven tail and auto rotation clutch. A complete receiver and ESC gyro radio is optional, but those are no longer available either. You cannot use the 4-in-1 receiver that the ETRM Honeybees used. By adjusting the pitch and throttle curves on a computer transmitter as I have done on my Spectrum, I have made it 0 pitch at half throttle and locked the throttle setting at full with the throw of the gear switch. It should be capable of inverted flying and other maneuvers now. Note that if you ever set up your 3 servos on any helicopter and they all work in the right directions for cyclic pitch, but your collective pitch is reversed, you can go into your pitch curve setup program on the transmitter and reverse the pitch curves. Then it will work perfectly. So, the King's a beautiful little machine. Let's see how it does.
Okay, I've added tape right here on this part of the blade. Now remember, if you put the same amount of tape out here, it weighs more than it does in here. So, and I hold it up and spin it and I can feel it, and this also is a good way to check your blade tracking. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. That's nice. Looks good. Feels good. Always want to balance your blades. Well, that's pretty good.
Can you believe it? That slight tail rotor strike took a tooth out on the tail rotor gear next to the main gear in the body. It seemed it would still fly though, so...
That ticking is because they broke a tooth off of the gear, the weak point.
So bound and determined to fly this thing, I found another bare bones kit on eBay for 35 bucks. Ordered it and put in the new tail boom. The tail boom's all one piece and the drive shaft is made of carbon fiber rod. The gears are already installed. The gears are glued on each end, so there's no way you can change just the gears. That's just a shame. So let's give it a try with the new tail boom. Alright, well, all is good, so I decided to go out and fly one of my favorite tiny ETRM helis that never breaks, and right after this flight, guess what? Broke the Honeybee King tail rotor again. Wait for it.
Oh, it's running out of power.
Huh. Well, believe it or not, that not very hard landing in the grass just caused the tail shaft to break off the gear at the tail drive. Well, this certainly must have been a weak link in these King models. Maybe they fixed them later, but I'm glad I never paid full pop for one and stuck with the CP series. Well, I don't have any more tail booms. You can't buy them with the gear shaft, so I'm doing what I always do. I changed it to an OTAR. And this should be fun to fly because it has auto rotation, which means there's no torque on the body during landings, like auto rotate, and very easy to fly. So thanks a lot for watching, folks, and I'm sure glad they improved the electric helis later on, like my Blade 453D, or even that tiny WL Toys PowerStar X1. So again, please stay well, God bless, and happy flying. This is Dave, NightFlyyer, signing off for now.